Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Haley Mitchell-Haugen. I'm the editor of Sheila-Na-Gig Editions and Sheila-Na-Gig Online. And tonight we are celebrating the publication of Sheila-Na-Gig 9.1. We've been doing this for 9 years now. I can't even wrap my head around that. But this is our fall 2024 issue. And we have a great lineup of readers. Many are returning readers. Some are Sheila-Na-Gig Edition book authors. And we have plenty of new folks as well. I'd like to make half of our issues some new contributors to Sheila-Na-Gig. So welcome, everybody. We have a great reading ahead of us. I'd like to welcome George Franklin. He's one of our Sheila-Na-Gig Editions authors and a frequent contributor to Sheila-Na-Gig Online. And George was our first curator for this volume. So I wanted to let George say a few words. And also in this issue, you'll see a special section including some of George's students, some of his incarcerated students in Florida. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, George, as well. So welcome, everybody, and welcome, George.
Hi, Haley. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Haley, for letting me be the first reader or first curator for this issue. It was an amazing issue. And one of the reasons why it's amazing is because so many incredible people sent poems. And the poems were just, it made my life difficult because I never thought before how hard it is to decide which poems you were going to pass on. And so many of them are, I mean, the most poems that are submitted are competent, so you're looking for the ones first that just really scream out to you, and then for the ones that, you think are just really good. But that's hard to distinguish at that point. And, hopefully if I ever do this again, I'll get better at it. But I know it was a great group of poems, and I'm just totally wowed by what was submitted. I was very glad to be able to include work from my incarcerated students, and they had to submit work. Their work is submitted under pseudonyms, and they are a rather remarkable group of guys. I mean, they were. I have taught before at women's prisons, but this was from a men's prison, and what I think is different about these is we tend to associate incarcerated writing with spoken word, and instead of being spoken word, these were all works in forms, and I find that incarcerated students do really well with those. They love villanelles, they love sestinas, all sorts of things like that. They go crazy for it. And I think there's a certain freedom to be found in forms, and that appeals to them. But I'm just please take a read. If you haven't read that section, please read it. I think it will surprise you. And I was certainly surprised by the quality of the work, and I've been working with these guys for a long time. So thank you, Haley, and for letting me do this. And I certainly learned a lot, and I believe it's a beautiful issue.
Thanks so much, George. And we're going to kick off our reading now with the fabulous Paula Lambert.
Well, I'm happy to be here and really happy to start. I'm going to read both poems that were in the issue. The first one is called Hydrangeas. In the yard today, I watched a cardinal zigzag down the length of the fence, eyeing either side for greener grass, maybe, or the choicest insects. And as he dropped down the other side, disappearing altogether, I was left to assume my neighbor's tastier clover. I tried not to feel lonesome, though, truth told, not being chosen hurt somehow, the way that kind of thing does for introverts. Maybe that cardinal was an introvert too, I hear my father say. I hear his voice quite a lot these days, maybe because he skimmed down either side of a certain fence himself not long ago. Life, death. It could have gone either way. But the bright flame of his body disappeared too. greener pastures, all that. The yard without us in it. And I mean, plenty of birds still sing over here on this side of the fence. I keep cutting hydrangeas, bringing a little bit of the outside inside, making the house look like a place you might want to stay for a while. Just one more cup of coffee, one more song, maybe, to soothe the hollow bones. The second poem is called How Many Birds? On Riverside Drive, a red-winged blackbird flies in front of my car. Hello, he says, see me? In the Aldi parking lot a few days later, picking up groceries I didn't have time to shop for, the young man loading my car says, wow, that's a huge crow. There it is, on the top of a pear tree, just a few cars down. Once I see it, it flies off in a clatter of wings and a barking huff. Pay attention. A few days after that, I see a brown blur over the hood of my car, cowbird maybe, or sparrow, or an awkward juvenile robin. I smash my brakes. The world tells us when to stay alert, how to. It tells us again when we refuse. How kind the world in its infinite wisdom, how willing to sacrifice itself. How many birds haven't I seen? How many more have I hit? A cardinal once, the loud thump, the horror of her body wedged in the grill when I finally stopped. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Paula. I'm David Graham, and I'm new at this place, so it's great to see everyone. And I'm going to read two poems. The first is from the issue, and the second is a new one, and little bit shorter. I think this first poem was prompted by one of those workshop rules that occasionally you see about how dreams are boring or cliched, and generally I kind of resist these general rules, but it occurred to me that there are many kinds of dreams, so that's what prompted this. It's called Dream is But a Life. The kind of dream that wakes you up, even when you're not sleeping. The deep sleep of driving for years the same unseeable route to work. Or an interstate trance when the same towns pass by. The exact sparrow in each rest area, picking over French fries. It doesn't fly away when you walk past. So there's that. This morning, if this is still a dream, it smells oddly like diesel, mixed with a balsam pillow escaped from a gift shop that no longer exists. I gave up counting exits a long time ago and just hum along in the right lane at exactly the speed limit. Sometimes I think that funny engine knock is in my heart. What's funny is that it really is. The difference between a dream and the rest of life is like the distinction between dog and cat. Some prefer one, some the other, but for most of us, it's both, like a road you could drive either way. The second poem came to me as part of a series I was writing about living half a block from a cemetery. We lived there for 30 years, so I haven't counted any number of poems I wrote about as I went through that cemetery. It was for the Midwest, a rather old cemetery. There were folks there who were born in the 1700s through the current century. So this is the title poem from a new manuscript I'm circulating. It's titled Sounds Like Singing. No one's guilty in the old graveyard. All are forgiven by the frost, the wind, the long rains of spring. Every year the woodchuck sits on this hill squinting, then whistles a sharp warning when the dead go wandering through. All are redeemed by the clouds, their shadows quick as thoughts across the trim grass. No one's singing much except some finches who are just passing through. No one's listening, not even the dead children who never glimpsed our century or the one before. All are lost. No one's at rest because everything, even the calm air, is just passing through. Shadows lengthen, then shrink, and lengthen again, and the wind only sounds like singing. Thank you.
My name's Robert L. Dean Jr. I've been at a couple of these before. The first one I'm going to read is out of the recent issue of Sheila-Na-Gig online, and it's titled Love Like Knives, if my voice holds out. You hold them by the blades, arm's length, spread fan-like. I prefer holsters on my hips, like to feel the weight lessen throw by throw. You wear tights and a bikini, slinky thigh-high black leather boots, sex appeal. I am the Lon Chaney of Browning's The Unknown, replete with Romani scarf and broad-brimmed hat, silver buttons on my waistcoat, though I do not sacrifice my arms. We're not the sacrificial type, you and I. Though Beauty and the Beast we are, a real cloud pleaser, even if we are never sure which of us is which. We take our marks and let fly, the thunk of pointed steel into wood sounding our outlines. Sometimes you first, sometimes me, sometimes the both of us simultaneous. Blindfolded sometimes, the crowd awe-hushed, the air a veritable cutting silence. How violent the quiet can be. Such practiced miscommunication. Once I nick your ear, your next pins my trousers. We pause, check our marks, feel for muscle memory, visualize the end over end. You select a blade, I clear the holster. The show goes on. Kisses we used to throw, to no applause. Words we threw to no effect, vases, bowls, plates. Took it on the road, tired of picking up the pieces. A.N. other on the playbill, that's you. U.N. Owen, that's me. Packed houses, night after night, matinees on Sundays. I think sometimes, what would happen if I took one step away from the X? If I just ended it one way or the other? I assume you do, too. Thank you. And the other one I'm going to read, since Haley opened it up to share screen, is different than the one I originally planned to read, but I'm going to do some shameless self-promotion here. I'm working on a collaborative book with a Pittsburgh guy named Jason Baldinger. Some of you probably know Jason. He does great photography, so we're doing a collaboration of his photographs, which I've been writing too, and hopefully the book will come out the first part of next year. So I'm going to do one piece from that. Let me get share screen here. Hi. So this is Jason's photograph. He takes really eerie photos. It's taken in Wiscasset, Maine. And this is my response to the photo titled The Night Window. That face, you grope for a name. Is that a beard, a hat, a white stick? Could he be blind, staring straight ahead like that? Do you know a blind man? You did once, maybe. Sunday school, homework, get the knife thrower at the carnival when you were 10. But the feet are wrong, all out of whack. They don't line up with the torso. They don't face forward. They are coming your direction. You know them, those pointed, shiny black boots, or should. What are they doing on your street, if this is indeed your street? The banister, the ornate iron which the man is passing, it's not yours. It doesn't lead to your house, at least not this house here tonight. You push up on the wood rails. The window doesn't give. Nothing gives. No egress, no chance of communication, only disconnection. You will never speak to this man, never truly see him, and yet he is always here, always in passing. You can hear his stick tap, night after night, tapping, cradling that doll. Your childhood, that's your childhood in his arms. Now you know where it went. It never left. It's right outside. You can't touch it, but it's there. You'll never get it back. He'll never let it go. Look at the way he clings to it, that man. He took it the night you abandoned your parents' roof, the night you first penetrated the lover, the night you realized the dark was real and you were destined for it. This night you realize he will always be out there, him and the babe in arms passing by on the street where you are, with pieces of a life dismembered, a life misplaced, a life sometimes you hope well lived, a life certainly well haunted. And though tomorrow night it will flame out and echo, his name, their name, your mother's voice, calling like the light on the pole you thought you had lost track of, fires your subconscious. Just one more quick look at Jason's photo here. The light and the man and the cane. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate that.
Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be part of this reading. This is the second time I have poetry in Sheila-Na-Gig. The first time was 24 years ago, and I have the magazine to prove it. Here it is. This I can't believe I still have the book 24 years ago. And I had 3 poems in here because they won an honorable mention in poetry contest number 6. So here's the book. And it took me 24 years to come back to Sheila-Na-Gig. I've tried many times. So I'm really, really happy to finally have a poem again in Sheila-Na-Gig. I'm going to read the poem that just got published last month in the most recent one. It's called Haiku of 50 Years and 40 Pounds Ago. I want to make this a haiku with a grand seasonal hook, as so many autumns have passed since I could stop traffic with a swirl of my hips. Now I am just stuck in a gridlock, and all the syllables of my years have gone beyond anything numbering 17. I have been here too long for a 3-line thought of nature's lessons. The rest of my days will be lived in the shortened form of all things poetic. And I guess I'll read one of the poems from 24 years ago. This one is called Winter Baths. In pine tubs, the numbers tattooed across her wrist appear to melt in steam. The dried skin flakes from her body. Each cell coats the water in a frothed memory. Her fingernails have the edge of a woman who snips away at everything that grows past a clean point of order. Her commanding voice smothers into an accented whisper when she calls relatives lost in the denizens of the mind. Her spirit weathers this shadowed landscape in the prompt of a past relived in uneasy sleep. Her body scrubbed to a bright red, a glaring memory. She lets me wash her hair, nodding gray, then touches my long strands spiraling in the humidity and mutters the color of Rebecca's, her younger sister, a name that loiters in the dry bone of memory, a murmur in the funneled halls of her house, heavily scented with ammonia and wood polish. Winter in Treblinka. From a line of girls, they pulled Rebecca to the showers, passed over my grandmother, over a chorus of screams. From the creases in her forehead, I brush strands of hair, pull them into a tight knot of silver. The light dims to a sound of crickets. In the chilling air, we slide lower into the heated tubs. Memory's taut muscle loosens. My grandmother wipes the folds beneath her eyes, steps behind her hand across the night air to rid it of crickets, a chorus of screams that time cannot revise. Thank you.
I think I'm up next. That was so powerful, Laurie. Very, very strong, very beautiful and sad. My name is Laura Foley, and I'm here in Lebanon, New Hampshire. My wife and I moved to Lebanon from Vermont about a year ago. And the first thing we did, we have 2 dogs, was to build a fence around in order to keep our dogs safe. So that's the topic of this poem. I'm going to read the 2 poems that were in Sheila-Na-Gig. And thank you so much, Haley, and also George Franklin. Good fences. Good fences make good neighbors, Frost famously said, though he argued the opposite. And boy, are we building a high one at our new house. Not stone on stone as his was, but cedar poles and attractive black mesh you can see through to the wild oak woods beyond. An inconvenience to the deer family, passing nightly from the river up past the gorge. But no person walks that weed-thick bit of our yard. So when our nonagenarian neighbor, angry about the new construction, exits his house, hurling insults against us 2 women, we're astonished. Our fence built not, as he says he suspects, to keep him from raping us, but to keep our gentle canines safely in. And now, in our liberal college town, in what I thought were the enlightened 2020s, as he snaps and growls, I find myself admiring the wisdom of some division, just as Frost's savage neighbor did. Thank you. So cute to see all the. So the next poem is, well, I don't know if anyone else has any little people in their lives, but I really enjoy having some very little people that I get to spend time with. So this is called Live Streaming in Lucky Cafe. He hums the alphabet song as his fingers trace embossed license plates adorning the wall by his chair. I hand him some blueberry scone, some cheese. He sings, noticing me, noticing him, and the soft rain just beginning to silver our window, and the road, the park, the evergreen hemlocks, maple leaves beginning to turn this warm late summer day. Strangers smile at us, and he dimples back. He traces a letter, M for Milo, then G for Grandma. The rain slows, stops, then begins again. Thank you.
Those were beautiful. I'm Patricia Clark. Hi, I'm coming from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it's my 2nd time reading with Sheila-Na-Gig. Thank you, Haley, and thank you, George, for reading the poems and putting the issue together. It's a lot of work, and I think writers, you get mad at editors or you're not happy how things take so long, but, it's a lot of work, and we're grateful, truly. And one note of self-promotion, I have a new book coming out in January of 25 called Oh Lucky Day, and it's available for pre-order from the usual places, including Thrift Books. They've got quite a sale. I think it's 15 something, and bookshop.org. So Oh Lucky Day, please look for it. So it's fun to be reading with you all. Thanks for being here and listening. I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, and I think my sister sent me a book that talked about South Tacoma and had some pictures, and I ended up having a lot of memories of what the old place was like. After I graduated from high school, I swore I'd never live there again. I was really kind of adamant about it. I don't know why. So this is a memory about a place there, and the title is Captive at the B&I. This is from the issue. If we were good in church, if we could sit still, kneel, pray, we might get to go to the B&I store on South Tacoma Way, home of a carousel, a pet shop, aisles and heaps of janky things on sale, flip-flops, pails and shovels for the shore, cheap shorts, t-shirts, beach towels, food too, popcorn, hot dogs, pink cotton candy wound on a stick. Around the corner, up a carpeted ramp, sat Ivan, slumped on a log in his small cell, plexiglass window, his world. He was a featured attraction from South Africa, a silverback gorilla, come to Tacoma with its twin that died long ago. It was a blot, a scandal before animal rights made the news. All you had to do was see his dark eyes, how flat they'd become, light of life and joy long gone, all day facing more faces peering in, fingers pointing. It didn't take an expert to see it. Dad, look, we'd say, poor Ivan, he won't swing on his tire or eat some melon. He'd been in his cell 2 decades, never living with his own kind, not feeling grass or the sun, never a jungle rain or a moonlit night. A sign taped up there said, "Do not tap on the glass." When I leaned in close, it looked to me like Ivan's eyes had filled with tears. I asked my father. "No," he said softly, "gorillas don't cry." I hoped father wouldn't lie. On the plexiglass, I could see fingerprints and someone's big red kiss. And then later tonight, when I was looking at the poems, I thought, well, both of these have a kiss in them, both of these poems. That's kind of funny. Unintentional, really. We went on a trip across the Atlantic this spring, and it made me think about immigrants and people who came across the ocean and how difficult it must have been and hard, and what did they eat and where did they sleep, and things I hadn't thought about before. So this is called Coffee Kiss. "Give me one before I go," he pleads, leaning down, mustache tickling my lips. Nearly Easter, and the Christmas bells hang still in the bare magnolia, tied to branches. Is winter through with us yet? Nothing sure, except the allium will rise from garden beds, star magnolia and Cherokee Chief dogwood will flower. We booked passage on an open ship, only now dreaming of what our ancestors endured. What was their last sight of land? We drove once to Skull, saw Fastnet Rock, called Ireland's Teardrop, a place workers made casks for stowing in the hold. We booked passage on an ocean ship, only now dreaming of what our ancestors endured. What was their last sight of land? We drove once to Skull, saw Fastnet Rock, called Ireland's Teardrop, a place workers made casks for stowing in the hold. Everyone on deck waving, though the folks on land had long disappeared. Now, how many days at sea, and what to eat and drink? In a pocket, a piece of paper, creased, folded around a name of who they'd seek in Boston or New York. Could they sleep? Were they sick? How can the stories be lost, names and ages of who came and when, tales of what street they found? At the door, a friendly face, I hope. an uncertain future with no money in wallet or purse, only a body, hands eager to work. He wants a coffee kiss, but leaves with worry after. Not our ocean cruise, but what a biopsy will show after the body's breached. Probe this, measure that, and lay out for us what treatment he might face. Is that why we leave the Christmas bulbs up to shine in rain? They add a brightness, a bit of whimsy that we need. My friend Judy tells me a relative of hers crossed the Atlantic with a babe in arms, a child who died, but the woman wrapped the body to her chest. I won't let them bury this innocent at sea, she said. She clung to the corpse, just like an orca and its calf recently in Puget Sound. If I cut down gold and red ornaments today, I'll take care to wrap them with tissue or bubble wrap against breakage, fully aware so much remains uncertain as the season. New blossoms might freeze, a storm can smash a tree. What will another holiday bring, and to whom? I snip the ribbons, nestle ornaments as best I can. March winds redden my hands, chilling them to bone. Thank you.
Patricia, those were wonderful. I'm Gina Ferrara, and I'm coming to you from New Orleans. Thank you to Haley and George for publishing the first poem that I'm going to read tonight. This poem, just a little bit about it. During the pandemic, right after we all went into lockdown, bees started building this tremendous hive in our backyard, and it really kept us connected to nature at a time when we were so disconnected. So this is called My Sapphire Shoes, March 2020. Without leaving home, I bought shoes the color of sapphires during the pandemic, perusing sales, scrolling in descent as the bees in the backyard swarmed, built their sprawling flag-shaped hive. Workers hardly seen, though heard, laboring the lantana, the roses, the orange cosmos, the apple tree blossoms, those providing a superlative nectar coup to bring back to the queen. The weft and weave becoming waxier, more amber, holding weighted viscosity, honeyed evidence as people were intubated, rolled on their sides. Even my friend Melanie, hospitalized, who wouldn't come home. She would have liked my sapphire shoes, recognized they were like birthstones, a bit deeper than the sapphires of Ceylon, that shared the color of a true March sky, the one above the oblivious bees. I had no place to wear my sapphire shoes, except outside, where they looked strange and inappropriate in their gemstone blueness, when the buzzing, the din, took on sounds of a dirge. And this poem, excuse me, here we have in New Orleans, we have these flowers that bloom. They're called cereus flowers, and they're like cactus or lilies. They bloom for one night only. And so this is called Vigil in August. Tom knocked on my door and said the cereus was ready to bloom tonight among his hot house orchids, named and unnamed, some in shades of minor palpitations, and even fainter, others inkier, more indelible, still others acquiescing in illusions and delusions as worldly apparitions, malcontent ghosts from previous centuries. Another chartreuse on the exterior, foreboding, brooding, purple within, just like an impending tantrum. Somewhere we heard gunshots, rapid, quick, elliptic, intentional, bullets expelled, making impact or ricocheting, while we waited for the exceptional spectacle of a frothing lily detonating its own frilly white weight. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Hello, everyone. I'm David Prather. Let me see if I can get my poem up here. I'm going to read to you from this edition, a poem that has an offensive word in it, so be prepared. Maturity. The year I turned 18, I got drunk on Mad Dog and Boone's farm. I found false happiness, regretted it, then drank again. The year I turned 18, I signed up for conscription, even though I hate war and sometimes where I come from. I went to the post office and signed away my life, which the military didn't want. And when I turned 18, I stepped up for my diploma as half the graduating class yelled faggot. I didn't even know the pleasures of being with another man, yet. Almost like making love to myself. Almost like loving myself. When I legally became a man, which came after I could have fathered a child, but before I could think and feel the depth of adult emotions, I didn't know a milestone felt like nothing but walking through air. And the clouds I used to walk upon, how thin, yet so full and precipitous. Thank you. And the second one I'm going to read is from my Sheila-Na-Gig collection called Shouting at an Empty House. And it's called Architecture for Elephants, which is a title that came from an online article. Architecture for Elephants. What I imagine is a monsoon. Tree limbs as rafters, green leaves as shingles, a herd of elephants gathered below while the weather whips and tosses the world. But I don't live where behemoths roam, crash through the house when I'm trying to sleep. All I know of pachyderm behavior comes from zoo enclosures and nature shows, how they rub their hide against whatever will take their weight, how they express joy in pools of water, how they nuzzle their young with those expressive trunks. In some parts of the world, people build abstract structures to share space with tuskers, to watch them from mammoth observation platforms. Ancient Romans carved these colossal creatures in relief on marble panels. Stone wrinkles, stone eyes, stone blankets draped over stone backs. I don't want to mention poachers, destruction of habitat, and all the atrocities that come naturally to others of my kind. Kind, meaning likeness, not tenderness or beneficence. For that, you need to witness an elephant caress the bones of loved ones long dead under the shelter of trees, trees reaching up into the rain. Thank you.
Thank you for those lovely poems, David. And thank you, Haley, for organizing this, and David for being a reader. George for being a reader for the issue, and for everybody for being here. It's wonderful to be a part of a community. The two I'm going to read are from the issue. Keogh, Arkansas. A wooden walk snakes between cypress trees, their roots wide and awkward as wading boots. Turtles jaw the air. They follow us around the pier. On the way back to town, we pass the site of my mother-in-law's childhood home, the acres they sharecropped, the tattered mansion of the man who owned the land. She recalls that while her brothers scoured the grove for pecans, she ran barefoot to the Toltec mounds, sun rising above the tallest one, like a god. The next one is called Clon McNoyce, And all you need to know is that's a monastery in Central Ireland. Clon McNoise. Windswept, we walked among high kings crowned with lichen. We wove between crosses, snapped shots along a ribbon of River Shannon, then followed a shrill cry to the ruined cathedral. In the cleft of a rock, a sparrow was tethered, twine gripping its foot. Newlywed, I hardly understood as the bird shrieked and stabbed the hand meant to free it, then disappeared. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm next. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Haley, and thank you, George. I was really delighted to have 3 pretty different poems in this issue, and I keep flip-flopping between what I want to read, but this has been so amazing. Everybody's been so wonderful. I'm just thrilled to hear everybody read these poems. I'm just going to stick with 2 from the issue. And the first one I want to read is Gathering Mangoes, which I wrote when I was visiting a friend in Hawaii whose husband has dementia, and I was helping her with her huge crop of mangoes and also observing her kindness. And anyway, this is Gathering Mangoes. The ground is littered with fruit, and I stoop over and over and over, knees creaking, awed by the abundance, the wind-blown and underripe, others dropping heavy with juice, skin splitting. Some infested with insects and larvae, some pocked with holes where they've been pecked by birds, some already gnawed to the pit by whatever nocturnal creature feasted. Most wear a wound, soft spots where the force of gravity and ground took its toll. I sort them into piles, too small, too damaged, those rare few unmarked, most salvageable with patience and a tender knife. A skillful hand works around the bruise. Thank you. And the other one I want to read is more fun. I substitute teach when I'm here in California. And I worked in middle school for 16 years, and I came to love them. But now I like to work in high school. I think I had enough of that age group, but I do. They do tickle me sometimes. So it's Foxes in the Meadow. Foxes in the meadow, and I know it's spring by the 7th graders trading barbs, drawing penises on the whiteboard, stealing each other's pens or other treasures, testing the limits of their reach. They encroach on each other's spaces, laugh outrageously at anything embarrassing, their lengthening limbs and hormones always testing the limits of the teacher's patience, balancing their childhood on their bravado, tilting against expectations, just enough, not too much. Their chairs lean back, only 2 legs holding them to the ground. Sometimes they tip, brush it off, feign tough. They pounce at shadows, play in this meadow, dancing in the in-between. Thank you. And thank you for having these in the issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm Joe Cottonwood. I'm in La Honda, California. The poem I'm going to read is from my childhood. I grew up in Maryland, near the Potomac River and the C&O Canal. And this poem is a memory from that time. It's called Thin Ice. My daughter Lily asks why I always buy plain chapstick when she specifically asks for cherry. Cherry, Dad! I'm silent. Carol's birthday, her 13th, ice skating party on the C&O Canal. I'm 12. Carol has scars from a cleft lip. Speech a little weird. Her smile rare, one-sided, a sideways heart. Laughter unknown. Carol races me. She's faster, but stops with a shoosh. I pass to the sound of creaking, cracking like frozen bolts of lightning, and I'm in water like electric shock. My legs go through, my torso flat on a breaking slab. Flailing for a grip, I reach Carol's hand. Fingers lock, touch. I clamber out saying, I'm okay, I'm not even cold, because I'm not yet. But my dad says, take off your skates and all that wet stuff. Undies, too. I strip, Carol watching. I've just grown hair. By now, I'm shivery, jumping up and down. From the trunk of the Chevy, my dad finds a raggedy towel I can wrap. We all wish Carol a happy birthday. Her mom and dad kiss her cheeks. Then my mom and dad kiss her forehead. So, towel like a skirt, missing signs, not knowing rules, I kiss the shiny red heart mouth. Her eyes fly open. Mine never close. Sticky chapstick. Her open hand presses the front of my skirt. Firm hand. My entire body snaps to attention. Her lips warm. Blood rushes. A new era with scent of cherry. Happy birthday, I say. Yeah, Carol says. Years later, I realize she was trying to push me away. Be careful with boys is what I should say, but sorry is what I tell my daughter. Cherry, she says. Next time, try to remember. So that was in the current issue. I don't go back 24 years, but my first poem in Sheila-Na-Gig was in 2019. And this is one of the ones that was in there. And actually, Haley was kind enough to nominate it for a push cart and also for Best of Net. It's called Wet Nurse. Wet Nurse. Harold asks for a resume. Achna bares her left breast. The nipple is bulbous, erect. No, Harold explains. Where have you worked before? Achna bares her right breast. Achna's from Guatemala, her language a Mayan dialect. Harold's world is software, his language hard code. Harold's wife handled soft things like growing the child inside. Now out, helpless, hungry. Wife suddenly dead. Harold over his head, coping with grief and a newborn. Through church comes refugee Achna with infant. Harold's baby barely alive. Nurture, soothe, survive. Boys grow, hermanos de leche, milk brothers. Meanwhile, Harold the father, Achna the mother, live under one roof, sleep in separate rooms, have girlfriends, boyfriends, nothing sticks. Harold and Achna at the soccer games, the robot competitions, breakfast, dinner, always together. They whisper, they laugh. Do they? Are they? People wonder. Harold dodges. Achna says, no entiendo. The brothers don't answer, simply smile. At high school graduation, sitting side by side, Achna in tears. Harold takes her hand. Pareja de leche, milk couple. What matters they do, they are. Nurture, soothe, survive. That's it.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Haley and George. I'm Cheryl Denise, and this is called The Raising. The Raising for Mike. One Sunday afternoon, sprawled on the couch, you drift off with the book, How to Build a Timber Frame Home, slipping from your fingers. Inside, diagrams of scarf joints and half laps, determined shoulders and chiseled biceps work and auger. A joiner orchestrates long-haired men to assemble timbered roof trusses. You wake, knowing you can do this. Lunch hours, home from work, you straddle the schnitzelbank and carve 212 one-inch wooden pegs that will pin the intricate joinery together. Evenings fill with load calculations and deflection charts, the coffee-stained book dog-eared and scrawled with notes. Saturdays, I carry a thermos of hot chocolate to the shed, listen to the crisp sound of the slick, slicing oak shavings as snow dusts growing stacks of knee braces, collar ties, and queen posts. You rig the tractor and a set of old lawnmower tires so you can haul the massive oak beams by yourself. Early one spring morning, we scrape a sheen of ice off the plywood deck. Friends come from Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, Ontario, and down the road with jugs of water, a shoe-fly pie, and bags of red apples. This is the day you've been waiting for, all these eager faces, you not wanting to disappoint. We piece the first bent together, then heave ho as you instruct, and it rises gracefully. For the longest bent, with 3 posts and 2 cross members, 17 of us squat with our hands ready. On 3, we lift it upright, steady, perfect. Amongst roars of gladness, Dad and Dennis tap the bottom of the posts with giant wooden mallets until they drop with a thud into their pockets on the floor. Bob cleans out a mortise joint with his chisel. Noel hangs on rafters 15 feet in the air, guiding purlins lifted by the crane. God in the sun, the still air, our rough hands. At dusk we finish, joyous and weary, the oak frame glowing. Honoring tradition, you nail an evergreen branch to the peak, paying homage to the forest for our home. Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see everybody and to hear all these wonderful poems. I'm Elaine Palencia. I'm coming to you from Champaign, Illinois, but I'm from Moorhead, Kentucky. So my first poem is from Sheila-Na-Gig, and it's about and in memory of my late father-in-law, Campo Elias Palencia. There's some Spanish words. The title is Plaza de Toros, which means bull ring. I think you can get the rest of it. Cristo Rey means Christ the King. It's a big statue over Cali, Colombia. And that's where this is set. Plaza de Toros. Each year, since he sent his sons to school in the States, he has bought extra tickets for the bullfights, knowing they will arrive for the holidays with long-legged gringas on their arms. Watching them show the girls how macho they are when a matador their age is gored in the thigh, he knows he has loved them too well, and that the story of his life is just that, a story to tell these chicas, a suit of lights his boys can wear out to dinner. Standing in tall cane, paying cash to his machete-bearing workers each week with 2 soldiers to back him up, arriving an hour early to a political meeting to unlock a bathroom window so that later, by going to piss, he can escape assassination. refusing to stop on a mountain highway at night to tend to a body in the road because he knows the corpse is a trap set by bandits. Being 22 and sitting in the dust of a rundown Plaza de Toros in Pueblo Nuevo, listening to a priest perform the last rites over him as he holds in his intestines with his hands. Now, in these sun-baked stands, he catches the cool eyes of other men who live as he does, bathed in the wind of death. They look at his sons, at the gringuitas who hide their eyes against the shoulders of his boys when the bull tosses the next matador high and gores him where he falls. He knows the men love their sons as he loves his, and that it is this love that assures them the sons will never rise at dawn as he does each day to watch the great white statue of Cristo Rey that stands above the city with outstretched arms, rise flapping into the sky, leaving the newborn day to fend for itself. Then my other poem is was just published in Salvation South, and it's for my mother and her friends, my late mother in Tennessee. It's called The Old Girls. We wear family history on our crooked fingers, the sapphire ring great-grandma's beau gave her when he went to war and never came back, grandma's wedding ring made of Dahlonega gold and big as a man's to fit her work-rough hands, the diamond daddy gave mama to apologize for so much, too little, too late. We drive our late husbands' big old cars and park downtown in loading zones and over the lines when it suits us. We taught the police in school, bless their hearts. We still cook in iron skillets and make the best gravy. Our biscuits are fluffy enough to pad your bra with. In our big purses, we carry Band-Aids, face powder, 2 shades of lipstick, hand lotion, antacids, grocery coupons, shopping lists, pocket knives, whiskey flasks, hard candy, and nitroglycerin. We've done the needful. We've belled the cat, told the bees, and if our children were at risk, showed up loaded for bear. When anybody needed to straighten up, we jerked a knot in their tail. After what we've been through, we're content to watch our crime shows and ball games and let the dusting go. And when we're feeling slouchy and nobody's around, we turn the radio to outlaw country and dance like there's no tomorrow, which there might not be. Thank you.
I'm certainly looking forward to following that. This is from Sheila-Na-Gig. I thank George and Haley for this. It's called The Unseen. Slumping against the fence beside the bus stop, his white uniform bearing the staccato splatter of a night's work, soups and sauces, salad dressings and light gravies for customer-facing day shifts. The prep cook's cigarette glow swells in the dark, pushes a blue V of smoke upward out of the light. The beer truck driver, stopped in front of the Dubliner, is picking up empty kegs, rolling hollow metallic gratings across sidewalk grit. We fool ourselves that each day starts fresh. Like every city, St. Louis has an entire population you never see unless you've been part. It's there, in empty wastebaskets and polished floors, trucks washed, filters changed, lights replaced, and clean restaurant menus. Steeped in tasks, it has its own sense of community. A city bus slows. The driver recognizes the cook and waves. Doesn't write his route, but knows him. Cook waves back. Switching hands with his cell phone, he bows his head over it. His left hand gestures, palm lifting and falling, then drops to his side. Arching his back, he rocks against the railing, straightens up. In the alley, a deliveryman rattles his cargo door up into the recess, then clangs a hand truck onto pavement. Cases thump into shadowed stacks. An early car turning at the stoplight washes its beams across the intersection, touching Cook briefly. He closes his eyes, shoulders turn against the glare. And this next one is going to be published in I-70 Review here pretty quick. It's called Parallels, and this is one of my Southwestern poems. Parallels. Mornings, as light retires last night's shadows, you'll find me looking into the sand, sometimes stepping aside, or bending for a closer look. A lot happens overnight. Yesterday, near sunset, I found a small patch of flattened sand. The slanting light raised shadows of unshod horse tracks, adult and young, close together. Couldn't tell how many. 2 small hoof marks showed where a little one set its forefeet while pushing up from a dust bath. I could see how it rolled and kicked and snorted within 5 yards of our back door. Had the place to themselves while we, indoors at our laptops, clicked after the contortions of our breathless world. This morning, a bobcat's tracks crossed the spot after it jumped from the garden wall. Later, along the long toes of an adult quail moved through it in that continuous line they make. And now, desert wind is filling in the hoof prints, the way time takes back its smooth surface. Thank you.
This is my first time here, and I'm really delighted to be here. And I thank Haley and George for letting me into this wonderful community. This first poem is from the current issue. It's called Busybody Goes to Hell. It's after the poem Money by Richard Jones. And it's based on a Persian proverb that I've always loved. That is, they took the busybody to hell, and he complained that the firewood was damp. Then one day, busybody stopped complaining. He began to like hell's damp wood smoke, how it enveloped him in hazy ignorance, obscuring his vision, choking his screams, tethering his head with tendrils of monstrous dreams. It was better than being perpetually charred. During the night, busybody dreamed of hell smoke, swirling upward to envelop the living. Why not share this wispy oblivion? At lunch the next day, as busybody split a whole smoked salmon with the devil, he shared his vision. The devil said, "You just can't leave well enough alone, can you, busybody?" "No," said busybody, "but consider the possibilities." "And who's better to do this than you?" he added, blowing smoke up the devil's ass. So the devil set about unleashing hell smoke into the land of the living. In the oil fields of Houston and Khuzestan and West Siberia, the drill bits didn't stop till they hit pay smoke. When the Grand Canyon filled with hell smoke, people hung trout and sides of bison from its walls. In the coal mines east of Pittsburgh, earthworms tunneled down until their photosensitive cells teared up. There was so much hell smoke that when fire season returned to California, no one really noticed. This next poem is in the August 2024 issue of Verse Virtual. It's called Parental Guidance, Tehran, November 1979. My ticket stub is already sweaty in my fist, and I'm not even in the theater yet. Just staring at the garishly painted posters touting a film we know nothing about. Alain Delon, dashing and congenial, a medic in a field hospital. Like MASH, perhaps. This looks good. This might be fun. 2 months after our return from California, and just days after U.S. Embassy personnel were paraded across our TV screen, blindfolded and haggard, we are here at the movie house on the former Pahlavi Avenue, hoping for a normal afternoon at the movies. 4 seats in the middle row, a carpet of sunflower seed hulls underfoot, courtesy of the previous audience. Our daughters, 6 and almost 5, dipping tiny hands into the popcorn, which Iranians call chosefil, elephant farts, as the young nephews in the family are fond of telling me, watching carefully for my reaction. Were we right to bring the children here? We're flying blind. No guidance from any movie rating system, just the delicate sensibilities of the mullahs. But if the mullahs allow it, how bad could it be? After all, there will be no kissing, no mounting, no prostitution, no backsides, no heavy breathing, no nipples, no drugs, no subverting Islam, no insulting the imam. But will there be irony? I'm missing irony. And then the shrapnel bomb explodes in the field hospital, 100 tiny metal shards piecing the skin of the pretty nurse. And our children scream and look at us as if we had betrayed a covenant. The revolution was televised. We watched it in California, wondering if we should return to Iran. How bad could it be? It couldn't be worse than the Shah. And here we are, the earth having shifted under our feet, Pahlavi Avenue gone, and Valley Avenue in its place, named for the 12th Imam, the Imam of time, the one who disappeared and will reappear at the reckoning. When I first came here in 1971, I barely had any trash to put out for the garbage man. 8 years later, there is so much more to throw away. Thank you.
Thank you, Haley, and thank you, George. I'm Tara Menon from Massachusetts. My poem, I'm just reading one, is called A Suite for Love. The earwigs congregate in the middle of the night on the carpet of my mother's bedroom. 10 elders disrespecting the peace of a nonagenarian, undermining the efforts of her daughter to give her a luxurious palatial suite free of troubles. Her daughter likes to ruminate that Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal for his favorite wife, the brilliant, beautiful Mumtaz. And similarly, she bestowed a decade ago a spacious bedroom with a bay window and an appealing, elderly-friendly bathroom to her mother. What we do for love is flex our creative selves. We spare no expense, whether it's building the Taj Mahal or a suite that costs as much as a mansion elsewhere in the US. My mother, she who was afraid and squeamish of insects, unwilling to disturb me, steels herself to pick up earwigs with toilet paper and flush them away. Whenever I'm around, I haul out the central vacuum's hose to suck the sneaky invaders. My guilty conscience reasons that animals defend their territory, and I'm defending my mother's. The ghost of poor Shah Jahan must have haunted the grounds of the Taj Mahal, watching once upon a time picnickers with their hammers chip agate and carnelian from the magnificent facade. My mother tries to make me feel better. I'll try to see God in these earwigs, she says. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Tara, and thank you to all of our readers and our supporters here who came out tonight. Those of you who are catching us online, this is the celebration of our the beginning of our 9th issue, volume 9.1, fall 2024. If you enjoy what we're doing here at Sheila-Na-Gig, Inc., we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and you can support our cause through donations online and also through buying our authors' books. You can check us out at www.sheila-nagigblog.com. Thank you for everybody for being here.